How to deal with the trauma with your husband, 29 meters, leaving you 24F at the hospital. Hi all. I had a miscarriage and it almost ended my life. I was dealing with hypermesis heart failure and ended the pregnancy. I was dropped off to the hospital as I was vomiting and having convulsive shaking nonstop. After being checked, I was told I had a miscarriage, and I informed my husband, who was at work. I expected him to visit me straight after work, but instead he went past his sister's house and then decided to show up with her after a few hours. I ended up having to be hospitalized and stayed there for a week, and my husband wasn't really there for me. The breaking point was when his day off came up, and I begged him to visit me, but instead he was busy running errands for his family member. He did eventually come to me towards the end of the day, but by that point I was upset, and when he entered my room and I kicked him out. He didn't know I had his location, so when I checked, I saw he was at his friend's house. I called him and asked him what he was up to, and he said that he was so mad that I kicked him out he went to sleep it off at home. I confronted him and told him his location is on, and that he's at his friend's house. Anyways, he ignored me for the rest of my stay and didn't pick me up from the hospital to take me home, even though he knew I was being released. His excuse was that he was upset I kicked him out in the first place. I was still recovering from the heart failure when I was released, and I wasn't able to walk for more than a few meters without stopping for a break. I ended up catching a taxi and bled in the car, and the taxi said it was fine. The driver showed more compassion for me than my own husband ever did in that time. I spent a few nights alone, unable to shower or make food or tea for myself. My husband still blames me for kicking him out, but the whole time I was in hospital, I would call him to make sure he would come to visit me in hospital every day and beg to come after work. He never brought food or clean clothes for me my whole stay. I'm really struggling a lot with being blamed for the reason he didn't pick me up, and my reaction was uncalled for. After about 6 months of crying and arguing, he has admitted that he was wrong, but the blame should be shared. He has tried zero effort to try and amend things. He never checks in with me to see how I am. I'm still dealing with health issues still this day. My husband doesn't understand how badly I'm affected by this. I feel like others are put before me in our marriage constantly. I've tried divorcing over this, but he will say he was changed and will do anything to fix it, but after will say things like, "But you kicked me out," but then say he was wrong for leaving me in the hospital. I'm so confused. He will even say things like he's affected by the loss of the baby, but hasn't said anything about the baby outside of when I'm trying to leave or whenever I'm upset about the situation. My M/44, wife S/40, and I are unsure if a message from her best friend's husband is inappropriate. Are we overreacting? My wife's best friend, let's call her Sarah, has always been a bit of a loose cannon, often gets drunk and behaves in a reckless manner. She regularly flirts with other men, including me, and seems to enjoy telling her husband, let's call him John, about her behavior, which causes him to get really jealous. Most recently, I was picking my wife up from a girls' night out at a pub. I just wanted to wait in the car for my wife to come out at the end of the evening. However, Sarah insisted I came in and joined them at their table. Eventually, I gave in and joined them. When I sat down, she sat on my lap and grinds herself on my crutch, followed by kissing me on the lips and continually touching my legs, which left me feeling really awkward. My wife was sat opposite. We are pretty easygoing people and just laughed it off, but now it is starting to bother me. It made me feel really uncomfortable. If it was a guy doing this to a woman, I am pretty sure the reaction would have been different. Anyway, fast forward 10 days and my wife received a message from John after she changed her profile picture on social media. He often makes sexualized comments in a jokey way, but to be fair, we all do this from time to time when we are out together, and it is always just seen as banter among friends. The message said, "Gorgeous pic, you're so much more than you think you are XX." My wife showed my straight away, and we were both as shocked/confused as each other. She decided that it was a harmless message, and he must think she has low self-esteem, although she has never given any indication of having low self-esteem to either Sarah or John, and she doesn't have any such issue. So she replied, "Oh thanks, I am a bit of a legend. Sounds like you think I have low self-esteem." He replies, "You too have low self-esteem X." She replies, "Where did you get that idea from?" He replied, "You've never acknowledged when I have told you you were gorgeous. You always laugh it off X." She then changed the subject and moved the conversation on. He has never told her she is gorgeous at any time in the past, so this was just weird. I am struggling to move on. We have been good friends with Sarah and John for many years. This just seems really odd behavior and feels like a red flag. I have considered telling Sarah, but she can be volatile and it will cause a massive drama. I would prefer not to go there. I feel like I now want to keep them both at arm's length. It all feels very toxic. However, I am worried that it may have been a genuine compliment and I am overreacting. Appreciate your thoughts. I, F38, want to set up a nanny cam to prove my in-laws, F and N35 to 75, are spreading malicious gossip about me. What are your thoughts? I have been bullied for the last 15 years by my mother-in-law specifically, and over time her insidious malice has spread through the family. She has made my life a misery, tried to get my husband to leave me, tried to talk him out of marriage, buying a house. Only recently, they tried to organize a family holiday and told my husband to leave me at home. This is all done under the pretense of "we're just worried about you. We don't think you're financially stable to buy a house. We know you've got a lot of work on and don't want to pressure you to take time off." My husband has been conditioned to never question them, and over the years he has made very slow progress. We have been in couples counseling twice. Recently, after an aunt told me she'd had psychic visions that I was holding on to so much negativity, I was alienating myself. I finally ran out of patience and told my husband that I didn't want to spend any more of my life around these people who call themselves family. We have 2 children, and I am very worried that they will try to turn them against us. They have already tried several times by implying that we value money and our business over family. So I have a plan. I never leave my in-laws alone in my home, as I have evidence of mother-in-law snooping in my bedroom. I set a trap once by putting a clothes dryer directly behind my door, which would get knocked over if the door was opened. Sure enough, it happened. However, in a very rare opportunity, they will all be alone in my home for an hour or so over Christmas, as I have agreed, for my kids' sake, to host Christmas dinner. At one point, we will walk the dog and also get a break from them. If I install a nanny cam, then I would have a high chance of finding out A, what's being said, and B, the hierarchy, and just who out of the 6 of them, adult siblings, is guilty. I could either get a spike-em, hide it in the smoke alarm, or a nanny cam. We can say we have a dog walker and it's for insurance reasons, or I could just leave the voice recorder on my phone when we go for a walk. I know in reading this, some of you will have a low opinion of me. 2 years ago, I had a nervous breakdown over the situation. You can't imagine how it feels to be hated by a group of people when you've done nothing wrong and feel isolated in your own home. My 30-M boyfriend wants to break up with me 26F over not wanting kids right now. Is that worth breaking up over? My boyfriend wants to break up with me because I am not ready for kids at this immediate point in time. I know ideas about kids is inherently a deal breaker, but it's not the fact that I don't want kids, just not right now while I am still in school. I am honestly distraught. We've been together for almost 7 years and have had our fair share of ups and downs. I fully regret us not already being married, but that should happen within the next year. He says he is tired of waiting and feels so unfulfilled by not being a father. We are not in an ideal place in our life, and I've been very adamant I want a real plan in place before bringing a child into this world. He literally said, "People in worse situations have kids all of the time. People in third world countries have kids all of the time and are happy. We have people around us that would provide support and hand-me-downs. We don't need items to make us happy, etc." I could go on. It all just made me flabbergasted. Tav. I told him I do want kids before I'm 35, ideally starting when I'm 30, and he says he can't wait anymore. Edit. This is crazy. I've never aired so much personal business online. It's honestly kind of embarrassing, but I am thankful for the different perspectives. I love this man with every fiber of my being, and I absolutely want to give him babies one day. The problem that has put off proposals, marriage, and kids, etc., is a mixture of family drama and me trying to pursue my dream career goals as a veterinarian. If I had only not done so poorly in undergraduate, I might already be a veterinarian. I have so many regrets for my past years, and I am suffering from them now. I just don't want to lose him and my goals. Edit 2. I should have clarified he has been asking to get engaged for a while now, and I have been putting it off. My reasoning came from the fact that our families have drama, and I really was hoping to have that settled before. I've also told him that I'm scared that as soon as we get married, we are going to be pressured into kids. He does want to get married very badly. I don't have any doubts that he doesn't love me. Boyfriend 24M. Bought a dog knowing that I 24F didn't want one when we lived together. What is the appropriate response? I 24F will admit that I'm part of the minority, being that I don't like dogs. I never understood the hype. My boyfriend 24M is the opposite. He loves dogs, especially pugs, and he has had one growing up his entire life. We moved in together in May. About a month ago, he brought up to me that he thinks we should get a dog. I knew that this would come up at some point in our relationship, but I didn't think it would be before we've lived together for even a year. We've been dating for almost 4.5 years. I told him I wasn't ready yet, and I also told him that I do not think pugs are cute, and I'd rather we get a different dog. This is a huge compromise for me, simply implying I would get a dog in the future. The next few days to a few weeks, he keeps showing me photos of pugs for sale. I keep not reacting to the photos because they are not cute to me. Then, last Monday, he tells me he set up a visit with a breeder to look at pugs on Friday. I start bawling my eyes out because I do not want a dog right now. Before we go home separately for Thanksgiving, in front of his entire family, I make it clear I'm not ready for this, and I don't want a dog right now. I am thinking maybe he will just go and look. I look him dead in the eyes and say, please do not buy one. I'm not okay with this. I truly in my heart didn't believe that he would. He is not the spontaneous type. On Friday, he sends me pictures and videos of pugs, to which I say nothing and to which he says nothing. I think I'm in the clear. Then Saturday comes. He tells me he needs to make money for the playpen he bought. I ask why he bought one and he replies, for the dog. I thought he was kidding until I kept questioning it more and figured out he's not. I broke down in tears in front of my entire family. At this point, I'm also upset about the fact that he didn't tell me for an entire day, didn't respect me saying I wasn't ready, etc. I get told I'm being irrational, not giving it a chance, would never get one, and so on. He can't seem to understand that what he did was wrong, and it's making me question whether I want to be with him or not. Better yet, his entire family thinks I'm being stubborn and crazy. What is the appropriate response to situation? Is this worth breaking up for? My 18F friend, 19M, was rough with me during my first time, and I'm not sure how normal it is. I'm so sorry if this is the wrong community to post this onto, but I just thought getting other people's opinions would make things more clear for me. I'm 18 and he's 19. We did it last night, and it was my first time ever, but not his. We've been friends for a couple of years now, and we've always been close. Last night, we were together alone and got tipsy, and it just happened. He knows I've never done it before, and he's told me how he likes the idea of how no man has ever touched me like that. It was not that bad. I don't really remember much, but I remember how rough he was. He pulled my hair a lot, and also tried to wrap his hand around my neck a few times, but I stopped him every time because it hurt. He wasn't that happy about it, but he did listen. He spit in my mouth a few times as well, and he stopped when I gagged once because I think it's gross. And he also stuffed 2 fingers in my mouth so deep until he made me gag. Also, it hurt. It hurt so bad, it stung so much, and it felt like I was being stretched so wide open. I was telling my best friend about this, and she said I should talk to him because what he did was messed up, and I did. He told me he doesn't think he was very rough, and that's how men are anyways, so it's not a big deal, and I should get used to it for the future. I'm just so conflicted because I know I didn't like the experience too much, but I need to know if he did go overboard. I don't want to overreact and make the wrong choice. I mentioned everything that I remembered, and everything my friend told me to mention, so I'm sorry if something's irrelevant. 45 meters and 54F in a 5-year relationship conflict over an adult daughter co-sleeping with mother at 24 years old. Am I out of line for protesting this after 4 days? Hello all, I have had a recent fight with my significant other of 5 years. Over the holiday, her eldest daughter came down to visit. We do not live together but a block away from each other and are in the midst of selling on of houses and consolidating. During the recent visit, her daughter, who is 24 years old, has been sleeping in her mother's bed with her, and I have been forced to my home each night, even though there are 2 empty bedrooms. After 4 days of this, including Thanksgiving night, and with her daughter going out with her friends, and us having plans to do something together Friday evening. Before finalizing plans, I asked her if I will be staying at her home this evening, or will I have to return home. I live alone, work from home, and have no children, and the holidays can be particularly rough on me. She knows this. After giving me a vague answer and 2 hours of trying to form plans, I expressed that it is starting to wear me down a little bit going back and forth. She took offense to that and told me have a good evening. When I called her to discuss it, I said that it is a little weird that your adult daughter sleeps in your room with you, and you are forcing me to spend the holidays waking up alone and to an empty house. She erupted, went off on me, saying how dare I come between her and her daughters. She has another that is 22, and that I am calling her daughter weird. I had been more than accepting and hadn't made a single comment or protest up until that point about the sleeping situation. It was only after 4 nights and her daughter going out to party with her friends did I ask. It has progressed to the point that she isn't talking to me for 2 days. I am not sure how to navigate this. In general, I believe she has boundary issues with her kids and tries too hard to be their friends, and they can walk all over her. Her youngest daughter has a substance abuse issue where I have been nothing but supportive, and was the one that was successful in getting her into treatment. The whole thing put an incredible amount of stress on our relationship, and it has suffered. I love her. We had an absolutely wonderful relationship before this hell of the last year. I don't think I was so far out of line for saying this behavior is weird. Have been exposed to enough family dynamics to realize it isn't common behavior in most families and at a loss.